As you can see, it's a whole new setup. The main reason is because I can't seem to find my little puck, which where I position my camera somewhere around here. But yeah, now it's here with this low angle. So I've got to make sure to always look down, and as you can see, the distortion's no longer up above. The distortion occurs here. Yeah, and it's kind of cool setup. Look, it kind of I can get this camera to pan left and right, kind of making it a bit cinematic. But yeah, I got my coffee here, and yeah, it's been a while. Um, Now on my Patreon, for those of you who are not in the know, you can become a member on my Patreon. It's free, and there's also $1, $3, and a $5 um tiers which you can apply for, and you get exclusive content. So yeah, just a dollar. So from $1 to $5, you get exclusive content. If you get the $5 one, you instantly get free access to my ebook, the only book you'll need to become a commercial film director, and that book alone is $5. So it's a, I'd say it's a bargain. But yeah, for my paid patrons, we have a community where I give them the access to ask me questions. So we have like a chat community, and I asked, is there any topics you want me to cover? And so one of the Patreon members asked more in-depth VFX pre. I assume he's talking about pre-production VFX and how to, I guess, hopefully try and achieve a good outcome. And just to give you a quick background, so this Patreon member, I actually know him. He's a producer. I won't embarrass him by letting you all know who he is, but um, yeah, he's a producer, and so it's understandable why a producer would ask a question like this because especially when it comes to VFX and to be more specific, VFX in the commercial world is a whole different thing compared to say VFX when working in VFX for a feature film or let's say for your own personal project. It's completely different, and the main reason for that is the turnaround. So for TV commercials, there is there is a in most cases the the timeline that you have to complete a project. So complete as in the editing, color grading, VFX, voiceover, music has to be done in a much shorter duration compared to say a feature film where you have at least you know, a good 2 to 3 years. And then when it comes to, let's say, personal projects, then that's a different story. Okay, I've got to remember to always look at the camera. Yeah. So personal projects is a different story because you don't have a deadline. You can work at your own pace. And in most cases, in those personal projects, you're having your friend work on it or someone who's doing it at a lower fee and who is a freelancer and who's most likely doing it during his during his free time, um then say for a commercial or a feature film there is a deadline, like for example for a feature film, you know for example, like yeah, most feature films will announce a release date. So they'll say, "Oh, this film's coming out next year, January," and so they're given a schedule to have the film complete. I would say at least a week before the actual release date. But I heard, but I've heard some stories where they've been working on the effects all the way up until the release date, and yeah, and anyway, so um, so when it comes to VFX, or let's say to be more specific, CGI, CGI is computer generated imagery, which we're talking about like 3D objects and stuff. So this is quite heavy intensive because there's a lot of manpower, a lot of hours, there's a lot of whole lot of thinking involved when it comes to VFX slash CGI. And so so for example, when you do get a board, it's very important to know which shots or scenes require VFX. Um, and when it comes to so yeah, so let's put it let's focus on pre-production. Pre-production focusing on VFX. In a lot of cases, like this this is even the case for feature films, but the same case for TV commercials as well. When there's a project that's heavy on CGI, they yeah, so in many cases they would choose a director who has a strong background in VFX or CGI. And it helps a lot because they have a lot more knowledge in the field, and they'll have a better understanding of certain things to avoid, um and yeah, because a- a- also directors have, let's say, they have experience working with a number of post-production houses, and so they will know um which post-production house can handle the load or can deliver the vision that the director wants. And so yeah, so that's the reason why even for Hollywood films you will see that, for big budget CGI, VFX extravaganza type films, they would hire people, directors like Michael Bay, like Steven Spielberg, like James Cameron, because they have a strong background and knowledge in VFX, and knowing from their track record that will get, a good result, almost likely. So, the same in the commercial world, because even when, like, let's say a brief comes and it's heavy on CGI, they'll think, oh, yeah, Aswa, he's um knowing from his reel, he's done a lot of VFX work. I will send the brief over to him for as an example. So yeah, that's how it works. And so there are a number of post-production houses, like just like yeah, I think this is the best comparison I could make is comparing it to the Hollywood, or let's say feature film world, and the TVC world, because it's somewhat similar. So in the feature film world, you would have the top VFX houses like ILM, Weta Digital, Digital Domain, and same case with the commercial world. You have the Mill, you have what's that one called? It's just PP PP something. I'm sorry. Yeah. There's also Digital Domain, I believe, have a department where they do commercials as well. Um, And yeah, there are a number of big, well-known post-production houses um, that do big scale like CGI and VFX for commercials. Although it's really early in the morning. It's not really early in the morning, but I got up really early in the morning at 6 and now it's 9 and uh, yeah, let me just slow down for a bit. Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping you're enjoying this. Also, I've put a link. You can check it out in the description area where there's a YouTube channel called Corridor Digital, and they have like a weekly episode where they dive into VFX and CGI, and yeah, that's really um yeah, for those of you who are not too familiar or want to gain more knowledge on VFX, it's the perfect channel. It's really, really good. Like I watch it almost religiously. So yeah, every once a week they bring out a uh yeah, it's like a reaction to good and bad CGI, and they will discuss why it's bad. They'll analyze the scene or the footage and what makes it a good CGI and what makes it a bad CGI, etc., etc. So yeah, go check that out. That if you want to know about why certain CGI ends up looking a certain way or why certain CGI ends up looking really good, then check this link out. This is like basically covers the foundation of VFX and CGI. So yeah, so so if you're interested in that kind of stuff, then yeah, just I would say for it, like in my case, what got me intrigued in terms of CGI is that or VFX. I'm not a CGI guy. I don't make 3D models, 3D animations and stuff. But I started off um, learning After Effects, and I'm still quite. I would say my level in After Effects is excuse me, is above average, I'd say. Um, I'm not. I can produce, let's say, pretty advanced pro results, but it takes time for me compared to like let's say someone who is a pro and does it for work. They can do it within a matter of like maybe half a day. Well, it takes me like a few days. But that's just also me being very picky. But yeah, so it started off with After Effects, teaching myself After Effects, and then from there I just gained interest from online or VFX to CGI to yeah, and I'm really um I'm a strong let's say advocate or yeah, I'm very into photoreal CGI, and that's the thing that's not so common in the TVC world, mainly because what I mentioned before that the 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 timeline that you have is just not enough. So usually you would let's say that there are 5 shots that require CGI, and the client's like, okay, I want the TVC to be released by this date, meaning that you only have like the post house only has a week to put it together, then that's definitely not enough time. And that does happen where it's just unrealistic schedules are given, and yeah, it's just rushed. But you've probably all seen like on YouTube they have like that side by side comparison where someone draws like let's say a character like Spider-Man. One's given like 5 seconds and then later they're given like a minute, or they do a comparison from let's say a minute version to 1 hour, and you see for sure the 1 hour version is like way better because there's more time for them to add the little details and stuff. So it's the same case. And yeah, it's just I feel that also with TVCs, yeah, so like I said, main thing is the window of time given to for the post houses to work on the CGI is a lot less. Secondly, the actual artists. So for TVCs, the CGI artists that work on the work on TVCs, they are basically what do you call it? They're like uh they're like an all rounder. Like they don't they're not CGI artists that specialize in fire or liquid or hard surfaces. They are basically an all rounder. They do everything. They're basically jack of all trades. While in movies, for Hollywood movies, you would have a team of people and there will be certain people who specialize in different categories. You know, one person might be really good at doing, creature like CGI creature designs or humans, you know, or environments, hard surfaces, etc., etc. So there is that aspect as well, and it's basically because there's just a lot more time to work on for feature films compared to TV commercials. I know I'm sounding like a what do you call it? Beating a dead horse. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but these are again the fundamentals is time. The other thing is the artist itself, like the VFX or CGI coordinator. Um, yeah, from past experiences when working for post houses, I didn't know at the time, but now I can kind of guess if they're capable or not. Um, Sometimes I've been fooled. Most times, yeah. For example, it's always good to go with a credible post house like the Mill or what's that one? Sorry, I really have to know because PP something. Uh, I'll probably put up a little pop up somewhere here because it's really yeah. Anyway, so you go with a credible post house and yeah, they have a reputation of delivering good CGI, and or you go with the smaller post houses and it's a bit of a risk. You don't know if you're gonna, it might be good, it might not be that good, it might be that you might have to get a bit more hands-on. So for example, from my experience, when I've worked with a really good post house and when speaking with the effects yeah, with the VFX coordinator, he would tell me, oh no, I would say you do it like this, or it's better that we go with this approach, instead of me telling him how it should be done. And sometimes that happens with the smaller post houses from my experience. And so I prefer having an expert telling me how things should be done. And of course, when, you know, if something is goes a bit off trail, then I will tell him or her, like, no, actually, this is the way I see it. But in most cases, you would want the VFX guy, the specialist, to kind of guide me and tell me how things should be done and what to expect, etc. And in many cases, for example, I've worked with smaller post houses where I had to guide them and kind of it got to the point where, there are many times they'll say, "Oh no, I can't do this, can't do that." They'll, you know, because you also have to think of their mindset as well. For them, it's just a job. For you, it's your reputation and your your vision, right? But for them, it's just a job. When once they do this project, then the next one comes, or they're working on multiple projects. Like they probably work on other projects while working on yours. So sometimes you have to get your hands dirty, and that's where it's good for, like in my case, because I have a background in After Effects. Then say for example, when it comes to masking and stuff, then I would tell them that's a pretty bad mask. Like you can look at the edges and I can see that big areas being cropped off, and a lot of those fine details are lost, and they would say, oh, can't do it because of this. Like they will make excuses because for them it's a job. So what I do is I would do it myself, and then I'll go, look, I could do it. If I can do it, you guys can do it. And there've been other cases where I've had what's that called? Oh yeah, pretty there was like banning on the footage. So um because it was low light, it was filmed pretty, yeah, at low light, and for some reason there was some banding that appeared, and there's ways of eliminating it or reducing it, and they did they did their version, and then I was able to find a solution to get rid of it all, like completely. And yeah, just it got me to, I mean, they were pretty open about it because when I showed them, they were like, wow, like that's cool. Okay, we'll just take your footage and just use that, because for some reason it wasn't working on their machine. So oh no, no, that's right. They were using Flame and I was using After Effects, and for some reason I was getting better results with After Effects than the Flame. So, um, yeah, I think um, if you want to get good results, I think the thing is it's not just up to the director; it's also up to the producer as well to really fight for those extra, just fight for more time so that the VFX can have better results. So um it's also good for the director to not micromanage, but to check in quite regularly with the FX house. I check to see everything's going the way it should be, because it's happened to me way too many times where the FX guys were like, okay, we're gonna be working on the weekend and we'll show you the finished result on Monday. And then, to my shocking surprise, on Monday, it turns out completely not the way that I want. And so it's good for the director to. So in that situation, it would have been better for me to go, look, I'm gonna come in on Saturday and just check it out, see where you guys are at, and then I'll come in again on the Sunday, check again. I'll go, oh look, I'll come in tomorrow as well. I just want to double check. I just want to make sure, because yeah, that we're going the right track. Because if you're going to be presenting it to the agency, or let's say the client, on that Monday, or say the following Tuesday, then there's no time to make those changes. Um, Other than that, yeah, I guess it's really up to, a big part of it is up to the director's vision, how he sees the overall image. But then at the end of the day, what also can ruin it? I'm not trying to point fingers here, but when there are other parties who want to change things, so let's say, for example, the CGI shot was for, let's say it's meant to be like a city that's being flooded. So the effects guys have been working on it, or have been planning this massive sequence, and then halfway the other party goes, "Oh, look, we've kind of changed our idea. We want it not flooded, but we want it We want kind of what do you call it? Like we want nature to kind of take over and have trees and stuff and greenery take over the city instead of water. Then that's a big change, you know. And then they have to start from zero, you know. So there are things like that. I mean, this one's extreme, but there are many cases like that where there are like where the other party will make these micromanaging or will make these changes, and it just kind of disrupts the flow of for the post house to really nail what they want to create. And so yeah, there is that. um I know I'm talking about a lot of problems, but how about solutions? So the good thing again to have an established post house work on it is that they'd be pretty they would be pretty firm. So let's say a client or an agency or whatever were was asking for something ridiculous and they wanted this and that, and they were saying, oh, we want this and that within a week, then a reputable post house will put their foot down and be like, no, we can't do that. And because they're reputable as well, they, you know, their fee would would skyrocket. So it'll be pretty expensive, to be honest. So they have that under their belt. Um, yeah, so yeah, they would have that under their belt. And well, for example, a smaller post house, they're kind of under, what do you say? Because they're kind of not struggling, but there's, you know, they're striving for more clients and more jobs, you know, not being a sucker, but you know, they need to kind of please the other parties. Then they would compromise and go, okay, we'll do our best instead of putting their foot down. Not saying all, but it does happen. And in most cases, um when there is a situation like this, they would just bow down and go, okay, um, okay, we'll try and make those changes. While with a more reputable company like the mill, will put their foot down and go, no, it's not happening. It's either this or that. And yeah. Um, yeah, so for example, yeah, so you've probably seen some of my work, and when it comes to good CGI, yeah, it's just really hard to implement um good CGI in TVCs, but it's possible. It's not impossible, and it's in these situations where creativity can really thrive because you start to find solutions or other ways, creative ways to create a scene which you thought may have required heavy CGI, but hey, how about if we change it to something like this where it minimizes the amount of effects? Then yeah, so it's good and bad. So one more thing before I end off today's video. My I mean, the way I approach it also, like let's say I'm on set, I would try and I try to rely on practicals as much as possible and avoid the amount of green or blue screen or chroma key. Um, because that also requires a lot more work for the post guys. And also it's just really hard on the actors as well as the director as well, because you're just seeing this blue and green screen, and if that's all you have on set, then it's really hard to imagine or picture what's going to be replaced. And yeah, so for example, on a set, I would try and yeah, I would make sure when it comes to practicals, at least the foreground is built And yeah, I'll just again just build as and use as much practicals as possible, and try and minimize the amount of green or blue screen on set. And yeah, and then from there you just cross your fingers and hope that everything goes smoothly after that. What also helps, again, and you don't always have this luxury, but is to have a FX or CGI supervisor on set. And it's good because they would know how something or how a scene needs to be set up to make their jobs a lot easier. And yeah, because if there's just one thing that's out of place, it for them it means hours of cleaning it up. And while they could be working on other things to improve the visuals, but because there is that slight error, then yeah. So it's always good also if you can to have a FX supervisor on set. Um, that's the thing with me on set. I would constantly talk with the FX supervisor, tell them is everything okay? Um, yeah, this scene requires this, and so is there anything? Do you need certain markers on the background for you to track, etc. So yeah, tracking markers as well. Sometimes when you don't have a FX supervisor, I just put tracking markers anyway. You know, um, it's better to have than not to have, and for the post team, it's easy for them to clean up. So that's just my way of working. Better to have tracking markers than no tracking markers, because if they can't track and there's a whole lot of motion, that's a lot of work for the effects team. And sometimes it's just guessing as well, because from then on, because there's nothing to track sometimes, and the background might be blurred or something. So yeah, and especially when it comes to, like I said, TVCs, you don't have the time to make those errors because they just have so little time to work on it. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. So yeah, again, follow me on Patreon. Become a member. It's free. And again, if you want to gain like exclusive content and want to build your or kickstart your career in film directing, then yeah, just $1. There's $1, $3, and $5 tiers, and the $5 one will give you free. I mean, you get a free ebook, which alone is $5. So take advantage of it, and yeah, you can join the community. You can ask me questions. I answer them. Basically, you have a director here to help you out. Like I didn't have that luxury when I started off, and yeah, there were. I have to say there are certain routes I wish I would have taken, or I wish I would have known. It would have made my uh I guess my progress as a director a lot smoother. But yeah, take advantage. Yeah, follow me on again. Please subscribe. Um, check me out on Instagram. I'm also quite active on Instagram and Instagram stories and stuff. So that's aswa_hand. Check out my website, aswahan.com. And yeah, I'm also working on I'm in the process of completing a passion project. So yeah, you can go visit my GoFundMe page. It's a pretty ambitious project. This one also has lots of VFX and CGI. It's going to be really cool, and yeah, I just need some help from the community. So if you guys can help out, yeah, just visit the page. If you can't help with funds, that's cool, but you can help by sharing it. That's equally, yeah, helpful. So yeah, GoFundMe, Patreon. Check out my book. It's only $5. Check out my website and Instagram. And yeah, please again subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode.